Hello and welcome to Coders Break episode 6. Have you been coding a lot this week? Well, you probably need a little break. So let's laugh at some silly memes. Before we jump in, please do like and subscribe. And remember, if you laugh, you win. Okay, let's go. Son, one day you'll be a man. Dad, I'm 32. But you still code on Notepad. So, I don't know what you use, but I certainly don't use Notepad. I don't mind VS Code. It's okay. It's my default. But at work I use RubyMine, which is an IDE built specifically for using Ruby and Ruby on Rails. So it has a lot of built-in functionality. It's really, really useful. I quite like using it. Although configuring it with Docker is a pain in the butt sometimes. But anyway, what do you use? What's your favorite IDE? Some people like Vim. I haven't actually tried Vim yet. I could see if you got really good at it and learned all the shortcuts, it would be really useful, I think. And I might get into it one day. I know some people who use it, they love it. But I kind of prefer having my UI to use in an IDE right now. I don't know. Do you use Vim? What's it like? Oh, another semicolon joke. So it is semicolon. We will hardly use it. Computer science student. Yeah, nice one. Yeah, maybe your English teacher was like, in class you learned a little bit about semicolon and putting fragments of sentences together or whatever it's used for. But you rarely ever use it in English, right? When you're writing English. But in programming, if you are unfortunate enough, you program in a language that needs semicolons to compile properly. Oh, I do feel sorry for you. But luckily, I don't have this problem on a daily basis. Searching for that missing little semicolon. To understand recursion, you must understand recursion. Yep, this is quite true. This is that meme of the dude who's super stoned, isn't it? But stone philosophy is correct here. Recursion is one of those tough things to get your head around at first, and to be fair, if I had to rewrite a recursive solution right now, it would probably take me a while to think about it because it's been a while since I've had to. In web development, I honestly don't think I've had to use recursion once in web development. There are cases where I could see it be very useful. Operating on a data structure that you don't know how deep it goes, for example. But that just hasn't come up. What about you? Have you used recursion in web development yet? I'd be curious to see what kind of cases you might use that in. Me. I learned programming on my own, without help from anybody. I'm self-taught. Quora, YouTube, Google, staring at you, and add ChatGPT to this one now as well. This is actually a really true statement, right? I was thinking about this the other day, and my channel name, Self-Taught Dev. What does that really mean, self-taught? It's not like I just downloaded some software that enabled me to, run a programming language and started figuring out how to use it as a self-taught dev. Obviously, those days are gone. You don't need to do that anymore. Or flipping through textbooks, trying to figure out how to do something. And just through trial and error and intelligence, figuring out how to write software. It's not like that anymore. I did the Odin project, right? So it was curated courses where someone had gone through and figured out what to tell you or teach you. And then you self-paced learn through that. It's just like a curriculum. So self-taught, I think today just really means you dedicated your time and effort to learn something without someone else holding your hand. At least I had the Odin project holding my hand, but it was not someone there guiding me, on a day-to-day. What does self-taught really mean? What do you think? Is anyone really truly self-taught anymore? I guess the only thing is in learning to debug and solve problems in the Odin project. You had to figure it out yourself, so there's not a teacher there really helping you. Maybe. Okay, you Chinese apps. You're using a Chinese app like TikTok, and your data, very nice data, being looked at by cheeky China over there. What do you think? Do you use TikTok? Do you use any other Chinese apps? I mean, there's plenty of opinions, let's say, that Chinese apps are stealing our data. How do you feel about that? Do you even care? Do you think this is a problem? I mean, it's probably not a good thing in the long run, right? Though I don't blame China if this is your data. Okay, how did you get your powers? I was bitten by a spider. He goes in, he gets bitten by a snake and becomes a Python programmer. Oof. Was it worth it? Was it worth it? I'm just kidding. I like Python. I think it's a great language. My first job was in Python actually, and it's really clean, easy to read, and it's got a lot of cool built-in functionality or features and the cool things that you can do in that language you can't quite do in other languages. And it's it can be applied to web development or big data as well. It's a very practical language. There's a good reason it's one of the most popular. My code? Standing on top of luck, online forums from 2008, Stack Overflow, and Indian guys on YouTube. Yeah, and you could probably add another can or replace one of these cans with ChatGPT now. Very, very true. I mean, who hasn't looked at Stack Overflow to get an answer on something? Saves you a ton of time. Indian guys on YouTube, I've definitely learned quite a bit from you guys. Thank you. And yeah, luck. I don't know how much luck is there. It's more trial and error. I'd maybe replace luck with trial and error. Mistake. Biggest mistake. Copying something and pressing Control C instead of Control V. Guilty. I do this regularly. So you've copied something and you go to the file where you want to paste it and you hit Control C again. And now you've just got like an empty line that you've copied. There's no data. You've lost your data. You got to go back, and it's just like, oh, come on, frustrating. Okay, Elon, setting your child's name as password. Ooh, no, don't do that. It's too easy. Naming your child after the password. That's hilarious. I mean, yeah, Elon's names for his kids are extremely obscure and I guess creative, and they do look like a password. Maybe that's all he did. He just named his last kid after a password. All right, designing a complete website on VS Code. Nice. Designing a complete website on Notepad, if you want to be that horrible to yourself. Designing a complete website on Inspect Element. Yeah, but then you can't save it, right? What's the point in doing that? It is very handy though to use those developer tools, go in and start playing around. I think it's a good way to see what something might look like. If you've got the right CSS, maybe. CSS is always the bane of my existence when I have to work in it, because I don't work in it very often. So doing it in the browser, it saves a lot of time. Okay, we've got some chess here. Meat. This pawn is the error. Okay, so I'm going to take the pawn, and then all of a sudden the rook is just going to slam me with way more errors. This is frustrating when you get stuck in one of these places, right? Like, you think, oh, cool, I just wrote all this code, or I'm working on a bug, and I just got one error. Let me just debug this error. Then all of a sudden, you start going into this crazy, seemingly never-ending process of debugging error after error after error, taking you to all these different places in the code base. That can be a little bit stressful. That's a tough day right there. All right, the end, nice, short and sweet. Hopefully you lolled, because if you laughed, you win. We'll see you on the next one.